right, so you've been working at the zoo for basically as long as I can remember. How did you, how did you end up working there?
Well, I grew up inner city here in Pittsburgh, and my senior year in high school, I was at Peabody High School here in East Liberty, and I had made a decision I wanted to work with animals. Being an inner city kid, I didn't have the experience of working on a farm. I talked to my high school counselors, and nobody could give me direction. I actually gave up on my dream of working with animals, going to school to teach history, maybe political science. In my freshman year of college, I was at California, PA, and I discovered Penn State had a program that allowed me to continue as a teacher, but teaching ag education, teaching agriculture. I got a chance there to work with some animals like horses, cows, pigs, farm animals, but that reinforced my desire to work with animals. And one summer out of college, I got a job. I begged my way. Well, started out as wasn't a real internship, but I begged my way into working with a horse trainer at the tracks. He said he's not hiring. I said I'm not looking to get paid. I'm looking to learn how to train horses, and he gave me an opportunity. So eventually, when I graduated, I had a degree in agriculture education. I was teaching biology and science in the city schools of Pittsburgh for 3 years. Kept on applying for animal jobs. One day, there was an opening for animal keeper at the Pittsburgh Zoo, and it's a civil service job with the city of Pittsburgh at the time. And I applied, and they told me I didn't have enough I didn't meet the minimum requirements for experience, and I thought I had a pretty strong resume. You had to be a city resident to even apply for the job. And I said, what don't I have? And I was informed, didn't have 1 year experience working with wild animals. I looked at the guy right in the face and said, buddy, I've been teaching school in the city of Pittsburgh for 3 years now. Two of those years I was a substitute teacher. How wild do you want it? He just started laughing. Took my paper out of a reject pile and put it in a good pile. Subsequently, I had to take a test, get interviewed. I got a job, and recently concluded my career there after 43 years working at the zoo. So that's how I got into the zoo. I sold myself relating horse experience to zebras, working with cows and cattle with antelope. I was really trying to make that jump from domestic animals to exotic animals, and it paid off.
Wonderful. How did you, you've seen the zoo change a lot over the years, haven't you? Any particular additions that you like, or things that used to be there which no longer are that you miss?
Now, the old zoo, when I first started, was, I wasn't there when it first started, but it opened in 1898, and that structure was still there when I started. It actually was closed in 1985, but the work that went on just before tearing down the old main zoo building, the area of the tigers and the lions, rhinos, and that place, that concluded construction in 1983. That was one of my favorite parts because it was a departure from the old Victorian zoo with the formal gardens and bars and brick, taking the animals out of their environment and putting them into a Victorian setting. Postage stamp time collections. Victorians like to collect things and have collections, and so animals were one of those collections that were maintained at that era. The new exhibits allowed the animals to be in barless exhibits. They're referred to as landscape immersion exhibits, so immersing the individual, the visitor, into the animal's habitat, maintaining the safety of the public by having barriers, remote barriers that you're looking over at the animal, but the animal can't get to you. So the animals you could see a change in their behavior. Some of the animals in the old Victorian zoos pace back and forth, back and forth. When they go down to the new exhibits, they lost those behaviors. You saw an increase of relaxation of the animals, increase in breeding and reproduction because they were more comfortable in their new exhibits. So those were actually my favorite because it was the start of a sweeping change in the zoo business, not just in Pittsburgh, but across the country.
All right, Miss Beverly, where have you worked over the course of my life? Because for whatever reason, while I knew all about Mr. Henry's jobs and what he was doing, what you've been doing and your endeavors and achievements have kind of just been a complete and total mystery to me.
Well, my first job after I got out of college was at Vintage, which is a senior center, and I worked there for 19 years. I did about every job there, from Vista volunteer to assistant director. Then my boss moved to West Penn Hospital and recruited me, and I worked in fundraising till I retired 6 years ago.
Ah. So, what was it like being married to Mr. Henry, who's a zoo man? Did you go around bragging about it like I did? Like, I'd go to school and be like, hey, my granddad works at the zoo. You better not mess with me or he'll feed you to the tigers. Do any of that?
Of course, I always would tell people he worked at the zoo because I'm not like a person that likes to get a lot of attention, so I like to throw it his way. So, it's not my personality to be the center of attention. I'd rather them talk about Henry. And he has much. I had a very interesting job because I worked with so many wonderful people, because philanthropic people are usually pretty wonderful. But Henry had he's a better storyteller than I am.
And now I am the storyteller. Because I'm getting engraved for it.
But what I remember about you, Elijah, is that you would always correct my poor English. Pittsburghese.
Yeah, but is it really poor, though? Like, is it really poor English?
Well, you thought so at the time. You would go, Miss Beverly, you said yins again. I didn't realize how much I said it. And I thought, God, in my professional life, I was saying yins all the time. And Henry's always correcting me about Washington. Did I say it right? I don't even know when I'm saying it right.
It doesn't matter anymore.
And every other Pittsburghese thing. So you guys corrected me, and I was like, I don't say it very much anymore.
Funny story. My English teacher actually kind of hates whenever I started writing characters with like accents and like wrote out how they're pronouncing it, and my professor hates it because like he'd be reviewing my story and then like, you know, flying through it, and then all of a sudden like that was like a choke point.
You got that camera on? Or?
Yes, I do have the camera on.
Yeah.
Now, Henry and I met in high school. So we've been together on and off for a long time.
On and off? What's that supposed to mean?
No, I mean,
We didn't date in high school. We just met in high school.
Oh.
and then we ended up in college together.
That must have been fun.
Yeah, we had a good college life.
As opposed to me, who stays up until 3 a.m. doing the essays.
Oh, he did that. I did anyway. He was never late.
I was studious.
Studious, of course.
Like 4 days a week, or 3 days a week, I can't remember. I had a system. I would study Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, and then the rest of the week I enjoyed the college life.
It's a lot different from nowadays. Back whenever you could just like afford to go up to New York or take a trip across the country without like spending hundreds of dollars on like airfare, hotels.
Snuck out of my house as a junior in high school. Told my parents I was going camping. I went with $5. The other guy was maybe had $20, and we sort of cajoled, kidnapped one of our buddies as he came out of work with $50, and we spent 4 days up in New York City and in Manhattan. So money wasn't how we traveled.
Well, even when we went to visit Penn State just like a couple weeks ago, we went to the town of, what was it, Belfont?
Yeah,
Belfont, and we were like, Well, as students, we never traveled that far, which is only a couple miles away, because we had no money. So
And no money, no car, no way of getting anywhere. So.
Yeah, so we were poor college students.
That makes 3 of us.
Well,
I worked
we
at
used to,
school.
we used to sell our plasma twice a week to get money for food. I mean, it was literally.
I did that for years. I think you went once.
Me, I
Yeah.
went, I don't mind. I went there. You weren't with me, so what would you know? I mean, I was there twice a
you
week.
mean
It was $10, and then for the first time it was $15 for the second time you gave it a week. And I did that for at least 2.5 years.
How about that? Okay.
I still got the track marks to prove it. I guarantee I was there more than you.
We're literally giving
I was
flesh and
regular- I
blood
was
for a bite to
regular
eat.
every week. You never went more than me. I know that.
Both of y'all went more than me, I can tell you that much. Blood scares me. How much did they give us?
My dad had just retired when I went to school, so. Plus, he didn't believe girls should go to school.
Ah,
Because he thought they
boy.
just got married. Even though my dad was pretty darn liberal.
Wrong button.